What are you doing on Tuesday the 26th of September 2023? Because myself and Francesca Amber are coming to the Barbican Hall in London. Our event is called One Night Stand, and this one night event is all going to be about manifestation, crystal healing, and ridding your limiting beliefs to help you achieve your goals. We've curated an immersive experience that will leave you feeling inspired and empowered. Throughout the evening as well, we'll also have interactive exercises, we'll have empowering discussions, and the opportunity to connect with like-minded individuals on a similar journey towards personal growth and manifestation. There'll even be an opportunity for you to ask questions as well. This event is your chance to break free from the shackles of self-doubt and unleash your inner greatness. It's time to release those limiting beliefs that might be holding you back and step into your true potential. And if you want to come on your own, by all means do that. Single tickets are available and seating is totally unreserved, so you can even meet up with your spiritual friends and sit with them as well. Head to @CannyCrystals on Instagram and click the link in my bio. Tickets are limited, so secure your spot and be part of this transformative experience. Don't miss out on the chance to manifest your dreams and achieve your goals. We can't wait to see you there. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Canny Crystals, the podcast. I hope that you're all well. This week I've got a guest on the show all the way from sunny Australia. Well, it's their winter at the moment, but she's a Reiki master, she's a tarot reader, she's a hypnotherapist, and most of all, she is an intuitive self-love coach. So please welcome Jazz Gatt to the show. Hi Jazz, how are you?
I'm excellent, Mark. So excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No problem. What time is it there in Australia? Just out of curiosity.
It is 8 p.m. on Monday evening.
Okay, so you're 7 hours ahead of us. I did wonder because I saw on one of my friends' story, one of my friends has just moved to Australia, and I saw that he was out for a run at I think it was 7 o'clock this morning, and I was like, no way. But I'm totally forgetting you're ahead. I thought you were behind. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
Just before we get started, Jazz, would you mind telling everyone just a little bit about yourself and what you do, just so we can get to know you and who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So living in Australia, that's where I'm from Sydney, Australia, but I live in Western Australia, over in Perth there, intuitive self-love coach, and just a brand new mum. I have a beautiful 12-week-old little baby, and yeah, just figuring out life. I've been on a journey. I was a traveller for full-time for 11 years, and COVID kind of grounded me and changed life's projection, which was something I was seeking for a very long time, but didn't know how to kind of come about. And through an amazing series of events, I was placed in a wonderful situation, and kind of things fell into place really beautifully. I'm a stubborn Scorpio, so I never would have gotten myself here if it wasn't through the help of the universe. And yeah, now I find myself living a mission that I only dreamt of for many, many years. So, yeah, I'm a Reiki master, so I work with people via distance so that there's no restrictions and people can access this modality from anywhere in the world at any time. I'm an NLP, a hypnotherapist, intuitive self-love coach, do psychic guidance readings, and yeah, just learn and grow and evolve every single day.
Amazing. So how did you get into all this self-love coaching? And can you explain a bit about what actually is self-love coaching? Because even I had to do a bit of research on this, because I'm a bit clueless when it comes to coaching and things like that. So what is self-love coaching and how did you get into it?
So it's an interesting question, and it was something that I stumbled across. I'm a big believer that everything's kind of put in your path, and divine timing and synchronicities, everything kind of comes about as you need it. And I cluelessly stumbled across, of course, a sponsored Instagram ad just came across my feed one day, and I thought, what is this? Same as you, what is a self-love coach? And I read it, and every single word that I read, I was like, that's me. I can do that. This is amazing. This is the modality I needed and what I really want to help people with. I can guide people through. This self-love coach is me. I know it. And I read it and I thought, oh, great. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go through with this. And silly enough, I signed up thinking that it was something that I was doing to help others. And the first task that we had and the first thing we learned about hit me like a ton of bricks. And I realized straight away that I was clueless. I had no idea what self-love was for. And I signed up for the course because I needed it. I was the client. Straight away, I knew. And wow, what a journey it was to come across that. So I wanted to combine the two after the certification and everything like that. But to go back to the self-love coaching, it's about understanding in my perception of who we really are. And it's not just, one size fits all, nothing like that. It's very tailored, it's very individual, and what it means to us is different to everybody. We often think that self-care Sunday is the solution to everything, that we have a bubble bath, we put on a face mask, we take ourselves out for a nice walk, and that's it. We've ticked the box for self-love this week. But in fact, that's self-care. And self-love itself, there's 5 pillars to that. So we have the self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, self-gratitude, self-care that we all know about, and then the mighty old one, self-trust. And it's a big process, and it can be applied to many different things, and that's how we can overcome a lot and deepen that trust within ourselves. So I went through the process. I was the client. I had to bring up many things from my life and lots of realizations. And then the intuitive side came through where, as you've mentioned, psychic intuitive and Reiki master and things like that. That was a whole nother journey that we can go through in a little bit. But to be one or the other wasn't really enough. And I found that it wasn't who I was. I didn't want to choose a niche or something like this. I went in with this with whole heart that I wanted to help and guide people through a journey of connecting in with themselves and loving themselves as I had to do, and I still do. So to me, it's a molding and blending pot of both, that we use our intuition, we use our self-trust, and we learn who we are and who we want to be. So the self-love and our intuition together is what it means to me, and just it's who we are and who we want to be.
That's amazing. So in terms of self-love, what can we do in our day-to-day lives to basically ensure that we bring about that deeper sense of change with self-perception?
So for me, when I think of this question, the first thing that pops to mind is awareness. And it's something that I had to learn. As I mentioned, I'm a stubborn Scorpio. I learn everything the hard way. You can't just put something in front of me and expect it to happen. I need to go through it and be dragged through the ringer. So for me, I realized, and as I mentioned, I was a traveler for 11 years prior to COVID. And I was on autopilot the whole time. I always knew there was something more, and I always knew that I was craving something, but I didn't know what it was. And all these wonderful experiences I had, I was just on autopilot. I didn't really know. It wasn't until I stopped and slowed down and had that forced period of reflection that I realized how much I took for granted, how I really just skimmed through things. I was kind of very surface level and never really got down. And in fact, with the title of traveler taken away from me, I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what I liked, what I did for fun, what I enjoyed, because everything was kind of a persona. It was a job. What I did it for work was who I was. And when it was all taken away and all stripped back, who was I? And I had to learn, and that was hard. So for me, it's all about awareness, being present, being where you are, and taking everything in and enjoying your surroundings, seeing what happens for you and how you react to different things is what it's all about. You may think that you have really deep self-love, but do you really know what's going on with you? And it's not until you sink in and associate in your body, see where you're feeling things, see how you're thinking about things, see the reactions, that you can really understand what's going on for you. Who are the people around you? They are your projection. So if there's someone who's frustrating you, excuse me, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent now, but if there's someone that's frustrating you in your life, they're a projection of you. So how can you look into them to learn more about yourself? So awareness, that's the main thing that I can say to people is being aware of your situations, your emotions, your reactions, and your inner circle.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a lot of self-exploration there, and like you say, awareness and things. So do you think that there's a part of this that's kind of more to do with negative thoughts and shifting those behavioral patterns, just so that you've got that self-awareness?
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe a lot in limiting beliefs being limiting decisions, and also the subconscious mind. And in the work that I do around NLP and hypnosis is all about the subconscious mind and understanding our programming. Our subconscious mind just goes through processes of how we've trained it. It reacts best to specific instructions. So what are the instructions we've given it? So if we go back to then around the awareness and how we've been programmed, we don't often know. It's just a belief system for us. If we react in a certain way, we just think that that's how it is. And it's usually in our childhood and the programming that we've had that make us believe that. And we do need to shift that to be able to move forward and go in the direction we want to go. Otherwise, we come up to these roadblocks and these challenges and we don't know how to get around them because we can't see in another way. So you're absolutely right that it's about those behavioral systems and the subconscious mind for us to really realize that we only ever do the best with the tools we have and the knowledge of how to use them. And in any moment, we can get more knowledge and different tools. And also we can always choose again and choose different belief systems as well. Everything is just a belief and it can always be changed.
I'm learning so much during this because I've talked about limiting beliefs and things like that in previous episodes, and I'm going through them with my life coach as well. So I'm always working through my limiting beliefs, and I do think that they are the core center of everything in life that we have doubts about, and it's weird, isn't it? So the way I always talk to people about self-love and self-esteem and all that is I just tell them to go and buy a rose quartz. Do you know
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
very important as well.
Yeah, but do you work with crystals yourself? Do you see any benefits of using crystals in your own self-belief journey?
Absolutely not. I can't tell you how much I love crystals. And to the point where I was a backpacker. Like I told you, I was a traveler for 11 years, but I was a backpacker. And when you carry your entire life on your back, it's important that you only carry the essentials. Now, I would go to places and get rid of things so that I could get new things, try to use by the system of one out, one in. However, there was something that was non-negotiable for me, and that was my beautiful little crystal pouch. And everywhere I went around the world, I collected different crystals, and I do this very intuitively, and I choose by feel. And then I look into the meaning, and it's always what I need, and it's how it feels in my body and everything like this. So I used to carry around this pouch, which was probably like 30 centimeters high and maybe 15 centimeters wide. And no joke, it probably weighed at least 4 to 5 kilos. And in your backpack, when you have like 20 kilos on a plane, and I'm taking up 4 to 5 kilos with rocks, that should give you a bit of an insight to how important crystals are to me. I have them in this space we're sitting and recording right now. I have my shelf back here with all the crystals from around the world. In all my reiki healings and all my sessions, I use crystals as a part of a healing benefit as well. I believe wholeheartedly in them, and they're so special and so important to me. I really can't recommend them enough, and I use them as work and I use them for recreation. So I understand completely when you talk about self-love, telling people to get a rose quartz. I agree, and it does have a lot of powers. In my opinion and my experience, there's a little bit more to it than that, but it is a part of the journey, absolutely.
Brilliant. I mean, you know what, you know me, I rant and rave about crystals till the cows come home. That's all I do all day and all night on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. So what other tips other than using crystals do you have for anyone listening that could be kind of in that point of low self-esteem and low self-confidence and they really feel lost?
Sure. So firstly, I'd like to validate anybody who's feeling that way, and for them to know and understand that they're not alone, that what they feel is valid, and it can be really consuming. Now, this is where I step back into the coach seat here, and I say that start with making the decision that there is a new way and that they're enabling themselves and empowering themselves to believe that they can feel differently. And if we look at the subconscious mind, everything is a decision. We decide to stay in the situation we're in, or we decide to choose a new belief system. So it's crazy to think it's that simple, but it can be. So I also like to say, start with forgiveness, and as we mentioned before, forgiving yourself for only doing the best with the tools that you had and the knowledge of how to use them at that time. And now you are better equipped and you can make another decision. You can move in a new direction. But forgive yourself for choosing what you did at that time, but knowing that it was the best that you could possibly do. And then moving forward with that as well. Choose again. Another thing I like to say is about energetics and getting things out of your energetic body. So once you start to talk things out, so don't feel like you need to keep it in within you. If you can share it, if you can write it out, if you can speak it out, that starts to get it out of your energetic body and into the physical world. And that's a form of release. And that's a new way for you to start releasing and letting go of these things that are controlling you at this moment. So work with your energetic body as well. See where you're feeling these things. Which chakra are they being held in for you at the moment? Are you feeling it in your tummy? Are you feeling it in your chest? Is it in your throat? Where are you feeling it? And finding that method of release, whether it be sharing and talking with someone else, writing it out in journaling, speaking to yourself in a voice note, just get it out of your body. And then start that release, and that's going to have a really big shift for you as well.
Yeah, I think definitely releasing, especially because I talk to my partner about everything and I share pretty much everything that happens in the day with them. But when it comes to partners, I know that not all partners are supportive and loving and kind, like mine is, for example, but I know not everyone has that. So what can people do basically to ensure that they make themselves their number one priority?
Yes, okay, so it's simple. You can't fill from an empty cup. And if you take it back, and this is something that I have to learn, and look, everything that you learn is often that you have to do it again. It's not just once you've learned the lesson and you're always programmed for the same thing. We slip up sometimes, don't we? And it's easy for us to go back into old thought patterns and old beliefs, and you just have to be aware and realize that. So knowing that you can't fill from that empty cup there, and it's one step at a time. Just one step at a time. Do something that brings you joy, no matter how big or how small that is. And think about what you'd tell your best friend. If you were talking to your best friend and they were feeling a bit down, you would advocate for them and you would say, look after yourself. Do what you need to do. Find an activity that's good for you, or what do you love doing and what brings you happiness, and go about and do that and reflect that straight on you. It's just as easy as that. If you can encourage somebody because you want them to feel good and you want them to be in a good space, do that to yourself as well. Give yourself permission to have that time.
Definitely. So not only do you do your self-love work and your one-to-one coaching, but I also spied when I was on your website the other day, things like the intuitive mentorship program and the 3-month breakthrough package and the womb clearing package. So would you mind telling us a bit more about that and what they actually involve?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to speak firstly about the womb clearing package, because this is... everything is my favorite.
I'm so intrigued by this.
And it's good that you've asked, because I haven't worked with a male client yet. However, males also have womb spaces, and it's very symbolic to men as well. Men were also born from the womb. So, you have that connection too. So in the way of womb clearing, this was something that I hesitated around, and it wasn't something that necessarily felt natural to me. It was something intuitive, and I was, for me, it was about a fertility journey to begin before I wanted to conceive. And I just started having all these downloads. I remember I was still working for somebody else and I was driving to work, and I just became obsessed. I had all this information come into my head about the womb and what it means and how much we hold, and how it's kind of like the information drawer for our life. And interesting facts, like we have 3 generations of lives within us when we're born. We have, when our mother was in our grandmother's womb, she had all the eggs she needed in her ovaries for us, for her lifetime. So we're born with 3 generations on top of us, and sometimes the things in this lifetime that we need to clear aren't even our own. We're just born in with them before we can even start fresh. So all this information started coming to me, and I was hesitant because I didn't feel like it resonated. And one day I just realized I started to put together this idea of womb clearing. And I thought, I'm my client. I need this. So I started researching, and everything that had popped into my head was right there in facts, that was all knowledge that I had gotten from a random place was true. So I became obsessed, and then I started putting all these practices into play for myself. And it was an amazing journey. And as I said, I entered it as a fertility kind of journey. And I have a 12-week-old baby now, so this was very successful for me. But it was also like an imprint of past relationships that I was still holding in that space, that was very negative, very unprocessed emotions, that was holding me back in so many ways. And through this womb clearing, I was able to firstly be aware of this and realize this and clear this and alleviate this out of my energetic body, which was huge. I had no space to welcome anything in. So I was able to clear that. And our womb just holds so much. The symbolic meaning of womb is the sum total of all possibilities, all potentials, and it's all about fertility and abundance. Fertility not just necessarily meaning creating a baby, but creating. It's our space of creation. So it's really important to me when I work with clients around this. It's not only around fertility. Sometimes it's about when we have the unprocessed emotions in our energetic body, it can start to manifest in discomfort and dis-ease. So I have clients that come to me that have issues within this area, painful menstruation, things like this. I have people who just want to deepen their relationship with self, people on fertility journeys. And every single program that I sign up is tailored and individual to that person. It's not just a cookie cutter approach. Nothing I do, I like to have a cookie cutter approach. It's like, okay, what would we like to achieve here? We go through a history and we try and tailor how it's going to work for you. We'll use hypnosis. We can use journaling prompts. We'll use energy work. Sometimes we will use NLP processes as well if it's about the subconscious mind and limiting beliefs. And we will use any modality necessary to get you to the place that you want to be for the desired outcome and the desired goal. And it's so special to me because I went through it myself, and also because it's vulnerable and intimate space, isn't it? But it holds everything. So once you start to put that key in and start to unlock, you notice so many different changes in other areas of your life as well. So I really hold that one close to my heart. And then, as you mentioned, there's the intuitive mentorship, and there's also the 3-month breakthrough, and they're both one-to-one coaching. Again, I don't like a cookie cutter approach. Everything is tailored to my clients one-on-one. The intuitive mentorship is what we kind of call like talk therapy, so it's just coaching. The 3-month breakthrough, we're knocking you down to build you up. No stone is unturned, and we're going through it all. We will use any modality necessary. It is coaching, but as I mentioned, I like an integrated approach. So we will use hypnosis, we will use energy work, we will use NLP processes, whatever necessary to get you to your desired goal and outcome. We like to use it all together rather than separate. Okay, this is the spirituality, this is the woo-woo, and this is the coaching. Let's bring it together and have that integration process.
I love that, especially the womb clearing package. There's something that I've never even given any thought to, but you're so right. When we're passed down from like 3 generations of women, like from being in the womb, and it's totally right. You've probably got like things that have been passed down through generations. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
not only do you coach others and arm people like myself with kind of tools and techniques to help raise their self-esteem and self-love and confidence, but you mentioned there you're also a hypnotherapist, aren't you? So talk us through how that works, because is that kind of past life regression, or is that more for help with you overcoming limiting beliefs and blocks?
Yes, so it is absolutely limiting beliefs and blocks, and it's all about the subconscious mind. So as I've mentioned, the subconscious mind, it runs everything. It's our program of how our life works, and it likes specific direction. And that's what it does. So let's use an example about money. When you were younger, your parents might have said to you, money doesn't come easy, money doesn't grow on trees. We've all heard that, right? It's a generational thing.
Yeah.
So for us, we think we need to work really hard for money, and that when we get money, it's going to go away really quickly because it doesn't come easy, and it's not abundant, it's not plentiful, it's not easily accessible. So that's a program that we were taught and that we took on when we were younger. So hypnosis helps us go back to those programs and give our mind, our subconscious mind, new directions. And we can program whatever you're looking for. And if it's abundance, we do a hypnosis specifically around attracting abundance. And it's telling your subconscious mind that it does come easily, that it does come effortlessly, that it is deserved, that we are worthy of what we want. And then people start to notice that that's their program, and these little manifestations start to come a lot quicker, and the nice surprises of life come up to them more easily, and they get more and more confidence, and they're putting out that good energy, and then they start attracting more and more. So it's about not necessarily reprogramming, giving new direction to the subconscious mind to allow it to think positively towards whatever goal it is that you're looking to achieve.
And is hypnotherapy something that is done face to face, or can that be done distance as well?
Everything I do can be done distance. And that's what I love about it. It's that there's no limitations. There's no barrier to entry for people when it comes to distance. We can do it. So yes, I do all these things over Zoom. We can do group hypnosis, and we can also do one-on-one hypnosis. One-on-one, you can put different intentions in there specific to the person, and then the group hypnosis can be more generalized. But yeah, there's no barrier. It can be for everyone.
You've sold it to me. I am literally booking as soon as we come off this call. Yes. I want to book into that hypnotherapy. So you've got a client there straight away.
Thank you.
Something you mentioned earlier in this conversation as well, you mentioned that you did a lot of backpacking. And I know from looking on your Instagram last week, you have seen the world. I was going through and I was like, oh my God, she's been here, she's been there, she's been everywhere. Do you think that that helps you in your self-love journey because you're kind of an explorer and you're exploring what else is out there?
Absolutely. So before I became a self-love coach, I actually trained to be a travel coach. And
wow.
For me, it was wonderful, except I did it in COVID and no one could travel, including myself. But it was the gateway. It was meant to be. It was what could get me into the coaching world. I wouldn't have ever felt confident enough to approach and enter it if it wasn't for something that I felt so confident in, like travel. And for me, I realized that travel for me was all about self-development and self-discovery and self-awareness. And I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for that experience with travel. And it taught me everything about who I am through my reactions, through the people that I had met along the way, how I interpreted them, how they interpreted me, what I was like when I was in a foreign country, what I was afraid of, what I was confident in. Travel taught me everything because I was on my own. I did it all solo, and I didn't have that support network that you have at home when you feel uncertain or when you need to chat through things. You don't have that support and the comfort that you're used to every day. You're literally thrown in a new situation every day, and am I going to be fed? Am I going to be watered? Do I have somewhere to sleep? Am I safe? They're the things that you're operating on each day, and it teaches you so much about yourself. And there's nothing I would change around that journey. And I truly believe it shaped me to who I am today. And my bag of rocks that I carried with me along the way.
I love that bag of rocks.
Me too.
So is spirituality a pretty new concept to you, or is this something that you've been following for years? Like, did you have an early spiritual awakening? Because mine's only come in the last 3 years. So I just wondered how yours came about.
I love that you asked that, and it's something that I ponder all the time. I truly feel that it's always walked alongside me. However, I wasn't always standing. I battled then with my subconscious of thinking, was it awareness? Was it openness? But it was understanding of what it was. So when I was quite young, I used to always have dreams of random things, nothing substantial, but just dreams of me in a particular situation, saying a particular set of words. And when I was 18, my first experience happened that I had what they call deja vu. And it, for me, was a dream that I had. So I kind of considered it like a premonition. And I was really aware, because I had such a strong sensation and feeling within my body when this happened, that I had had this dream a few years before. And I was in a place that I could never know that I was going to be. And then it kept happening and happening and happening. And I'd always believed around the things of things happen for a reason, and, you know, manifestation, all the things I know now, but I never knew the labels for them. And I never knew that they were a thing. It was just a belief. When I came about crystals, I was quite hesitant and scared around them, and I was always quite curious around psychics and things, and I always wanted one, but I feared seeing one because I feared that I had like an addictive personality, and that what they would tell me I would live by, and that I wouldn't be able to live my life after hearing what they would have to say to me. You know, all these things, there was something that I was so curious about, and I had these different senses that I could, like I mentioned to you, the deja vu and the dreams. I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do with it or how it was. And as I started to dive into the community a little bit more, a series of events, you know, I went to a psychic, and I got a crystal, and these kind of things. And I had some experiences. Once I went to like a cemetery, and I felt all the spirits around me, and I was quite freaked out because I didn't know what it was, you know. And I'd had a big sensation of a spirit come to my room once, and I could smell. There was a smell I had, and that was them. They were telling me everything was okay, but I was fearful of this kind of experience because I didn't know what it was. But it was tiny little seeds being planted for me along the way. And when I started being more comfortable going into the metaphysical shops, you know, like the crystal shops, and where you can get oracle cards and tarot and things like this, everyone will go out of their way to come to me and say, you know, you can do this too. And I started to say, yeah, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
I understand it's there, but I don't know how to do it. And they were all like, it will happen. And it did. And it did. And I started trusting, and I started becoming more curious and allowing that curiosity, and knowing that it wasn't taboo, and it wasn't unsafe, and it wasn't weird. To some people it's weird, but to me they're weird. So, you know, and you just allow yourself to dive a little bit deeper into these things. And then I would never have, you know, done Reiki without training. I would never offer a psychic guidance session without certification and training. And after I went through the process of getting all this training and getting all these certificates and learning all these things, I realized I never needed it. I had it all. I always had it all. But it was just my belief system that it's fake and fraud if you don't go through the training and things. The training was so beneficial to me, you know, like I learned so much, and I had the ability to ask questions, and I had the trust with my mentor that I could try things and, you know, experiment. I had a really great circle around me, my guinea pigs, I call them, every time I have a new service or something. And they were always the skeptics. I have one beautiful friend, and she was a skeptic, but she was open to a distance healing, my first ever one. And now she's my best client. You know, wow. She really benefited her, and that gave me so much confidence as well to be able to talk through it with her afterwards. So I realized I always had all of these things, and now I know that it can be done. So yeah, it's been a big journey for me of lots of seeds and breadcrumbs along the way, and there's still so much more. I know that there's still so much more to discover. I'm a constant evolution.
I know I feel exactly the same, because I always say like every day is a school day. And I mean, I've spoke about this on the show a few times now, and I've had Reiki done to me a few times before too. And it is fascinating. So I'm actually undergoing my Reiki training at the moment. I mean, it's on standby
Amazing.
just right now, just because I've been so busy, because I'm loving learning all about it. Do you know what I mean? So I've done my level 1. So I'm undergoing my training for my level 2 and things like that. But I just can't wait to start and like actually do it on people. I do it on my partner every now and again, and it's just amazing, isn't it? And it's just like I say, every day is a school day, and there's always something new to learn. And I'm always reading about different things. I mean, just yesterday, I think it was, I put on something about grounding. I've only just recently discovered grounding. And I mean, you messaged straight away, didn't you? And you were like, I love this.
Yeah.
But I've even just like watched the grounding movie on YouTube a couple of nights ago. I'm going to do a podcast episode about it next week, I think, because I've ordered some grounding sheets as well from Amazon. So they're coming today. So I can't wait to just like put these sheets on my bed and be earthed. And like, I'm just reading all the benefits of that. Yesterday, I went out for a dog walk with just like bare feet. And yeah, what's your experience of grounding?
So yes, for me, it's also nature. I need to be outside, but I feel the need to talk about now association and dissociation, which is also a form of grounding. So whether this is a term we use when we're coaching and we're talking about the subconscious mind, if we're associated, we're in our body, we're feeling the feelings, we're hearing everything, we're looking through our own eyes. Whether if we're dissociated, it's kind of more like a fear state when we don't want to feel what's going on. We've got the bird's eye view, so we're looking down and we're seeing ourselves in a situation. And there's different, it's important for us in many different situations to be associated. And I also, funnily enough, associate that with grounding. Lots of the energy work I do, one of the first things I can feel in a client is if they are really seeking grounding or not. And often when they are uncertain and they have decisions coming up, but they can't make up their mind and they just don't know what to do, it's because they're not grounded. They're being blown around in the wind. You know, the wind is blowing in different directions and there's lots of influences and they're going here, there, and everywhere. And grounding is what brings them back. I often remind myself that I am also the client and I am also blown around in the wind a lot of the time, and I need to ground. I need to make sure that my energy is sacred, that my energy is protected. And most of the time for me to solve it, I just need to go out into nature. I need to be near the water, or I need to be in a forest, or I just need to go out for a walk with the elements freely open and around and just associate, be in my body. Whatever feelings come up, they're for a reason, and just acknowledge those rather than push them down, and just be aware. And then I know that I'm grounded as well. So, and then focus on the root chakra, make sure that there's no blockages there, and then move through.
Amazing. Like I say, I am all about learning new things, and I'm just doing a lot of research on grounding and earthing right now. So this is all new to me, but what you've just said there absolutely makes sense, because even with crystal healing, there's a lot of crystals like tourmaline and black obsidian and things like that, where they are grounding and nurturing crystals, and they don't just block all negative energy and absorb that negative energy. They're all grounding and earthing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird, I've never really fully understood what that meant until I've started hearing about grounding and earthing. And I'm like, okay, it's connecting you back to the earth, back to nature and things. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you now these next two questions, and I ask all of my guests these because the answers just absolutely fascinate me. But what is on your vision board for the foreseeable future? So what does the next 5 years hold for you?
So for me, it's about really living in alignment. And you know, you mentioned my social media and things like that. And for me, that's really important. Of course, this isn't a 5-term, like a long-term goal, but that was the first step for me, changing everything about my social media to reflect me now. I was very much aware that I was living in between two worlds. I wasn't, as much as work as I had done, I wasn't totally ready and committed to letting go of that traveler, because it was all I knew. And I was so nervous about that, but I finally realized that I'm not living in alignment with my mission and who I want to be if I don't let go of that. And things didn't make sense when I was in between two worlds. So now for me, the short term, it's about coming home to me and understanding, learning more about myself and moving forward in the world, knowing that I will attract those who need me and that I need. I've just become a mother. That's really important to me, to make sure that I get that right. So often my clients come to me because of subconscious programming in their childhood. I need to be really aware of that I don't put all these programs in my child. So learning who I am now is the big one. As I mentioned, constant evolution of self. And like you mentioned for yourself as well, I will never stop learning. I will never stop growing. And it's my job to be really aware of that. Last year, I manifested some really big things, and that's not necessarily my focus in the short term moving forward. I want to get rid of the stuff, and I don't want to get rid of the stuff. I love the stuff that we manifested. I'm happy to keep, but I want to not make that stuff my focus. I want my focus to be, as I mentioned, coming home to me and who I am, my mission, and moving forward in that world, in the world, with an authentic view and with an authentic purpose, and really doing what's on my heart and making that the most important thing with my relationships in my life, and my relationship with self. That's what's important to me, because I've always made it about everything else. So now it's my turn to come back.
So what advice, if you were able to go back in time, would you give your younger self? Like before all of this started, when you were like smelling those smells before your spirituality and things like that, what advice would you give your teenage self?
Oh, my teenage self, I feel like she needs a few lessons, but I wouldn't be where I am today without her. So yeah, the word self-love just come up, and I just realized that everything I did was because I wasn't connected to me, and I was trying to find who I was through the experience with others. And I never thought that I could discover who I was through just looking at myself. And trust is the next word that comes up, allow yourself to be curious, allow yourself to, if things feel like, things pop up, your intuition, allow yourself to have an intuition and develop that, and not just always seek the outside advice from others and approval from others, that you have all of that you need inside. And when you trust that, the people that are around you will be very different, and your circle will be very different, and you'll be able to grow a lot faster when you have that confidence in self. So self-love, learn who you are through yourself rather than through your outside influences, and trust yourself. Trust your intuition. That's what I would love to tell mini Jazz many years ago, because it's taken me a long time to get to that point today.
Amazing. So Jazz, where can people find you? Because you're undergoing a bit of a name change, aren't you? Like on social media. So where can people find you?
So I'm now on Instagram as With Love and Woo. And the idea behind that is all about self-love and being your woo-woo bestie. So, all things spirituality as well. So With Love and Woo is my Instagram handle. And through that, you'll be able to find my links to everything else. Bear with me while we undergo through the changes. Like I said, it's all about me learning who I am, and that will be reflected because I'm always aiming to show up as the most authentic version of myself. So if I'm changing as a person, everything I'm offering and reflecting is changing too. So, but one thing we know for certain, With Love and Woo, you'll find me there on Instagram, and I can direct you the way from there.
And just to confirm, I will also put all of Jazz's links in the show notes as well, just so if anyone wanting to find her, they can click on the show notes there. Just going to the name change as well, talking about that really, really briefly before we finish. So With Love and Woo, woo-woo's a new term for me, because I think it must be an Australian thing, because I've never heard anyone call it that. But I listened to an author called Denise Duffield Thomas. I don't know if you've heard of her. Yeah, and she always talks about in Money Boot Camp spiritual woo-woo, and she talks about Ho'oponopono, and she always calls it woo-woo. And I was thinking, when you mentioned With Love and Woo, I was like, this must be an actual term in Australia. It's not something we hear over here in the UK, or not something that I've heard of anyway. So yeah.
It's like, I wonder, I would look up where that kind of comes from, actually, woo, but it was always in my awareness of it being woo-woo, and it's, woo-woo is like kind of, in my opinion, in my interpretation, that term where it's like thrown to the wind, like it has no validation, and it's very woo, and it's very out there and crazy and made up, embrace that. It being woo-woo, woo-woo can be your thing. So, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Oh, well, there we go. We learned something new. Well, Jazz, it's been an absolute pleasure. And to anyone else that is interested in the works that Jazz does, like I say, I'll pop all of her details in the show notes for today's episode. So, Jazz, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. It's been absolutely amazing, and it's so nice to connect with you and feel your energy and everything that you're achieving as well.
Oh, thank you so much. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to leave a review or even just a star rating wherever you're listening from. It just helps to get my podcast seen and keeps it in the charts. Podcasting is free. I don't get paid to do this, so I do rely on people listening and leaving me a little review. It takes up to 10 seconds to do so please just go and do it, and I'll be forever grateful. So thank you all so much for joining once again, and I'll see you all next Friday for another episode of Canny Crystals, the podcast. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Bye. come and join me in the Manifest with Mart community. For just £10 a month, you'll get exclusive access to my app and you'll join all the other beautiful souls in the Canny community, where each day you'll be held accountable to making your dreams and desires come to fruition. You'll also be set daily and weekly challenges. There's a chat room built in so you can talk to people in real time, and you can also pop over any questions that you have in the Q&A forum and I'll answer them for you. It's changing people's lives, and we've already had so many people manifesting things in the first 2 weeks alone. Each new moon, I'll also be going live within the group on a face-to-face video to help you get the most out of the lunar cycles, as well as answer any burning questions that you have. And these live meetups are so powerful, and everyone in the group has had nothing but praise for the safe space that we share. There are very limited spaces for this community, however, just to ensure that I can place my focus on you and nurture you into the ultimate manifester. So if you'd like a spot, please be quick and reserve your seat now. Head to cannycrystalsacademy.co.uk and choose the Manifest with Mart option, where you can get instant access, and what's more, you'll also get access to all of the past recordings and chats too. Join now and start living the life of your dreams.